Hey everyone, welcome back. It's been way too long. It's been 4 months. Lots of stuff has happened since then, since the last 4 months. Do a brief history. Right after my last upload, I actually got COVID. So I was down for about 2 weeks. I lost 15 pounds. Wasn't too major, wasn't life-threatening or anything like that. I just didn't have much of an appetite and I had a fever for a day and a half. Then shortly after that, I changed careers where I actually had weekends off, so I was enjoying those with my family. And then I decided to go back to where I left from to work part-time. Now I have no more weekends free. So not a lot of time for forging, and any free time I have is basically being spent with my family or doing other activities. So forging, unfortunately, has kind of gone on the back burner. Obviously, I'll get into that for some reasons why. This video has nothing to do with no lessons today, no forging today. But as the title says, Forged and Fire questions. So some of you might have seen me on the show, maybe 4 or 5 episodes now. Don't ask me the air date, don't ask me the episode number, because the episode number we were told we were on, it was actually different than what actually aired. But the episode is called The Ninja's Sword. So you can look that up. I believe it's streaming on Hulu, and you might be able to get it on Amazon Prime or something like that. The full episode. So if you haven't already seen it, go watch it. I'm going to do some Q&A real quick with that, but again, I'm going to get back into the forging as soon as I'm able to adjust to the new schedule and start getting a couple weekends here and there off. And I'm only doing the part-time thing for hopefully no more than a year, just until I get my pay bump for my current full-time job. So appreciate you guys and your loyalty and sticking around with me. It's helped a lot. It's helped me remain confident. So I really appreciate that. And it means more than you can ever know. So I'm going to get right into the questions for Forged and Fire. Again, it was filmed about a year ago. Well, actually probably right at a year ago now. Almost 11 months to the day before it actually aired. So I just wrote a bunch of questions down. These aren't like viewer questions or anything, but these are questions that I've been asked since people have seen me on there and since people have known that I've been on the show. So I'm just going to get right into it. Probably the most common question is, where is it filmed? It's filmed in Connecticut. I'm in California, so it was on the other side of the continent. Did they contact you or did you contact them? Meaning, did I reach out to Forged and Fire to be on the show? The answer is originally no. This was probably 2 years before I actually was on the show that they reached out to me through my Instagram. And I went through the whole process and had a phone Skype interview with one of the casting directors and thought I made it through, but I didn't hear anything for the longest time. Almost a full year went by. Then I got an email from the casting agency asking to do another Skype interview because they actually changed casting agencies. So this was a whole new casting agency reaching out to me, but they had their information about me, so they wanted to first and foremost make sure I was still interested in going on the show, and make sure I was obviously still making knives and things like that, and see if my personality would be a good fit for the show. So lo and behold, after I got the I spoke to the casting agent on the phone, or the producer, it was maybe a couple of weeks after that to where I was actually flying out to Connecticut. How many days of filming is it? So it's basically 1 day per round. You're there for a total of 3 days, no matter what. So the first 2 rounds, and then if you go into the final round, then you go home for a day or so or whatever it is, and then you film for a few days, and then you go back later. So and by the way, I want to disclose that everything I'm saying right now is pretty commonly answered amongst the Facebook group or has been answered in the past without any ramifications or legal repercussions. So there are some things that I won't be able to answer, that I'm not even going to ask a question over, because I did sign an NDA for some specific details about the show and filming it. So I'm going to leave that stuff alone. Did they cover my expenses? Yes, they did. They paid for airfare, they covered the hotel, and they covered any kind of expenses to a certain amount. Obviously we weren't allowed to have filet mignon every night, but basic stuff, was reimbursed. How are the judges in person? Pretty much what you see on the show is what you get. Part of my experience was right in the middle of COVID, so we didn't have a lot of interaction in between filming with the judges. It was kind of, everyone was being isolated. I talked to the judges a little bit before the show and a little bit after. There was really no close contact, no group pictures like you might have seen on Facebook from past contestants and things like that. It was kind of a little bit disappointing as far as that goes, because my wife is a fan of the show, and I wanted to get some pictures of the judges and maybe some autographs or something like that, but none of that happened, unfortunately, so no big deal. Was I surprised at the challenge that I had? So the challenge was we were using ninja weapons to make a ninja style knife, a skeletonized ninja knife to be specific. There were a bunch of different weapons. There was some nunchucks, throwing stars, a size, and I think some climbing claws or grappling hooks, one of the two, I can't remember. We had to pick two and make a knife out of them. And you'll watch the show if you haven't already, but at the time I had no experience making canister Damascus, so all my experience was with laminated style, anything like that, forge welding, typical. So that's what I did, and you'll see the outcome of that if you watch the show. If not, I was pretty proud of what I did. I pretty much had a picture in my head and I stuck right to it, and it came out almost exactly the way I wanted it to. So nothing to be ashamed of. The only thing I was surprised about was there was some steel that I wasn't familiar with. They said W2 and I think 1095, and I wasn't sure which one I was picking. Later I found out that I probably picked W2, which I've never worked with before that show. So obviously, it was definitely new territory for me. Was the time actual time, or was it edited? Some people think they actually give us more time than they actually do, and there's they just make it look like it's 3 hours or 2 hours or whatever. No, that clock is nonstop until from start to the end. Some people crumble under the pressure. I like to think that I didn't. It might have, I don't remember exactly, but I try to keep a calm, cool head and try to just stick to my plan. And when things fell apart, I kind of had backup plans in my head, or I just did what I knew to do. So hopefully it worked out. Am I happy with my performance? So going into it, all I really wanted to do was just not get sent home on the first round. I didn't want to get sent home for a missed parameter. I didn't want to get sent home in the first round. I really didn't want my blade to break. And so it's been out for over a month now, so I can just say my blade didn't break. I didn't miss parameters. So I did everything I set out to do, and I did not get sent home on the first round. Would I go back again? Now, I was asked this during one of my final interviews, and at the time I wasn't sure. And I think yes, I would, just because it was really fun. It was a really good experience. It was really cool using all the tools that I don't have to my disposal at home. And it was cool just making new friends that were like-minded when it came to forging. I still have one or two of those friends, so that I keep in contact with. So that's pretty cool, creating those relationships. Right now will be kind of tough because I'm on a 1-year probation at my new job, so I can't really take time off for that. So it would have to be after that, but time will tell if I get asked to come back or not. All right, next question. Do you agree with the outcome? That's a loaded question. I've been asked that a few times. I pride myself on doing things to a certain level. I do believe that if the first guy, Anthony, would have went through to the second round, I most likely would have made it to the final round. That's all I'm going to say. Judges make their decisions regardless of how the contestants feel about them. So for me to say whether I agree or not is completely irrelevant. I believe that the two guys that made it, Brett and Jason, both did a really good job. And it could have swung either way. So kudos to both of those guys. If either one of you guys are watching, really good job. So did I get paid for my taking time off? No, not through Forged in Fire. They don't do that. This is something you do voluntarily, and they don't compensate you for taking time off from your full-time job. Did being on the show increase your exposure / popularity / sales? I was kind of hoping it would. I was really thinking it would, because I've heard stories that it has. It honestly, it really hasn't done a lot. I think it's gotten me maybe 4 or 5 more YouTube followers. It's gotten me maybe 6 or 7 more Instagram followers. I've sold 2 knives more than I normally would have since being on the show. So I guess in the grand scheme of things, yes, a tiny bit, but not nearly as much as I was hoping. Part of that I know is my fault. Again, it comes down to the amount of time that I actually have to do this, because it's not my full-time job, so I don't market myself, to try and go to the local stores around here, the local, hardware stores or other stores, and try to, market my knives for them to sell for me. So I still rely heavily on Instagram and word of mouth. So yeah, pretty underwhelming. What would I have purchased with the $10,000? I said it on the show, I would have bought a forging press. I really would like to have a power hammer, but my shop, my garage, it's just too much. There's not enough infrastructure for having something like that, but a forging press would have been perfect, which I actually wound up buying anyways, because cat's out of the bag now. I didn't win, but on my way home, I knew that's what I was going to purchase. I just needed to make the funds happen, so I had a drum set that I sold and bought the forging press with that, and you guys have seen me use that since then. So that was that purchase for that. Trying to up the skill level and up the game a little bit and increase the quality of knives. Do the knives go through a temper cycle? The answer is yes. So the first day we make the blades, and then they're tempered after the quench. After filming, I don't know what David Baker handles that, as far as I know. Whatever, I don't know if he does it based on the steel that's being used, or if he just does a generalized, 2-hour temper cycle for whatever, generalized steel that we use, 450 or 400 degrees for a couple of hours, but they are tempered for sure. This is more of a question for those that have watched me on the show. Did I panic when my blade broke? The answer is no. I got super pissed off because I wasn't expecting it, and they only showed the blade breaking once, when it actually broke twice. And I'm going to cut to a picture of where it broke both times. The first time I wasn't even sure. I've never felt that kind of, I heard the ping noise, and I felt kind of a grab, for lack of a better term to describe. And it was pretty obvious, because the whole blade shifted, because the only part that was still attached was the thin part of the top where it was skeletonized. So it kind of warped, and I think it just shifted the whole blade. So it was misaligned, and it was very obvious at that point. The second time it broke, which is the part they didn't show, I wasn't sure. I felt the same thing, but I looked down and it looked like the blade was still intact. It wasn't until I kind of bent it a little bit to know that it was broken again. So I went back to the welder to weld it again, and I was extremely surprised, and I thought for sure it was going to break, but apparently I'm really good at welding, so it withstood that. it withstood the test. It did take a little bit of damage, I think, because of that, because I widened the grain quite a bit, because I welded that thing from the top to the bottom. So there was no way to control the heat when I was doing that. How did the extra 20 minutes feel that I got for making a lighter blade than the other contestants? Honestly, I wasn't really thinking about it being an extra 20 minutes or not. I'm pretty well known for people that know me as a knife maker that I tend to make light, fast blades that are still durable. I don't make a lot of heavy blades. I make them well balanced. So the 20 minutes was just more of a pressure relief for me, where I knew I could stick with my certain game plan. There was a couple of things that happened that I kind of were goofy moves. You know, I had, when I was drilling the hole in the handle for the tang, I had a mark to where I wanted to, stop the drill bit, and I marked it out on the piece of wood that I use. I think it was Padauk or however you pronounce it. And when I cut it, I actually had the hole at the end of the handle around where a pommel would go. I could see the hole from where I drilled all the way through. That wasn't my intention. Thankfully, that the handle was still long enough to fit in Dave Baker's hands comfortably and Doug's hands comfortably, but I definitely wanted to get like an inch or two more length out of the handle, but yeah, that was something that didn't happen. And I also, they didn't show it because it didn't happen. I didn't put any epoxy inside the handle for the tang. All I epoxied was the pin. I wasn't too concerned about it coming apart because, again, the fit was so tight to begin with. Probably didn't even need to use a pin. I mean, that was more safety than anything else, but the fit was so tight, I had complete confidence that it wasn't going to come apart while they were testing it. One question that we get asked probably more than anything is, do you get to take your weapons home after the show's over? For the first and second round, I believe the answer is no. I didn't get to take my knife home. I know Anthony, the first guy that left, didn't get to take his home. I know Brett got to take his home, so the runner-up gets to take theirs home. And Jason's knife, sword, I believe, his, I think that the two finale swords are the ones that get taken home, but the knives in the first two rounds are ones that are left there to be cycled through on their display wall that you see in the background of all the knives hanging up. At least that's what we were told. So maybe someday I'll see my knife hanging up on there. Maybe it'll be used in another challenge. Who knows? But that'll be kind of cool. So pretty much that's all the questions. If you guys have any other questions that I didn't already answer, feel free to put them in the comments below, and I will just reply to that. No need to make a new video for it. Unfortunately, I can't promise you when I'm going to make a new video or continue the San Mai copper knife. That's still right at the stage where it was left off at. I just really haven't had time. I just wanted to really get out here and make a quick video for you guys. It's not the quickest video in the world, but just something to let you know that I'm still alive, that I'm still thinking about you guys, and really appreciate you sticking around and waiting, faithfully for another video to come out. I know I promised to make, frequent videos when I started this channel, and then when I came back to doing this channel more frequently, but again, life gets in the way, jobs get in the way, and priorities get in the way. So just bear with me. Again, the channel's still small enough to where, I don't want to feel pressure to put out a video every week or anything like that. But I definitely want to keep you guys, engaged with me and what I'm doing. And definitely, I still want to plug OBM. Check out their products. I'll put a link down in the description. Anytime you purchase anything off of their website, I get a little kickback from that. So I really appreciate if you guys can do that. Check out my other videos of my tool reviews from them and others. And you want to learn how to make a knife, I got some pretty cool videos on that as well. Just doing it with a hand hammer and an anvil. So I'll try to get another video out to you guys in the next month or so, but again, no promises, but I really appreciate it again. So I hope to see you real soon. I hope you guys take care and stay safe, stay COVID free, and keep foraging. I'll catch you guys around the corner. See ya.